I'm going to put that back up because that seems to be what it needs to get sound. I don't know how to make that work so that it's not there. It certainly chews up some bandwidth. Anyone hear me now? There we go, we've got that. Maybe that's better. Everyone can hear me. Does that work? No one's hearing anything. It's fair enough. I am talking. It's off. Is that better? Are we getting anything now? Is that better? Let's try that. You said okay. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, so that's good. Righto. There is a feature that says that we can turn off the little talking head and not turn off the audio. So we just had to find that out. Anyway, we got it. We got it worked, I think. I think that sorted that. Okay, good stuff. So no talking head. So we should, and I've closed about 1,000 tabs, including Facebook. So hopefully that's not going to slow down our bandwidth too much. Anyway, stuff that's happening. Stuff that's happening this week. It's all happening really. We're working on steering gear equipment along quite nicely. A friend actually did that CAD work for me because I wanted a second opinion of how that worked, and it's a much cleaner. He's used quite a lot of feature scripts in it, and it's actually a much cleaner drawing. Than mine, which was not terrible, but he's much cleaner. Like the talking head, yeah, I just don't think my bandwidth will handle it. So this is the tooth profile that he's got. Which is quite a clean profile. I really like that actually. That's what we're going with. So I have made a few little modifications to his design. Put this in here. Clearance in the bottom here. Which sort of equals the clearance that's in the top. Somewhere to put a bit of grease. But this is actually, this design here that we're working on is actually the pattern. So if we'll close out this and this. The piece left over is the piece for the core box. So we're working on that too. Anyway, that's sort of one of the things that's happened this week. It's a bit fancy. It's a really good design. That he's done a great job of it. A few other little jobs. We're working on the phone, and there's some modifications to the front panel of the cab to make that work. So I'll spend a bit of time on that. Some work on the Fowler, some of the various bits that we get in laser. So there's quite a list of parts, but we're starting to go through them and get them all basically in a list in an email ready to send off to get a quote on. So that's working nicely. Anyway, last week we had a bit of a look at create a document just by clicking create and then document. And good day. So we had a bit of a look at some holes around the bowl. Now there's an easy way and a difficult way to do that. And I knew this, I just need to think about it a bit. We made up basically looking at the front. If we make a sketch and select the front plane, right, and then we press the shortcut N, brings it round normal to the sketch. So if you've got a sketch at an odd angle, that'll still bring it round straight on. So it's a very handy sort of a thing to remember, to use the N key to bring the sketch normal to the front of the screen. I think what we did was a center point arc. I think we made it, let's go 120. Bring this around here, we can see that dotted line come out when just there where we line it up. That gives us a 90-degree arc. And then in the sketch we went like that. Now diameter, well that's the length, but now diameter is called 125. So from that point, what we did was we used the revolve function. And face to face sketch one, we can either click sketch one over here and use that, or we can click on the sketch or click on the features that we want to revolve, and then the revolve axis goes around in a circle. Now we use the P key to get rid of those planes if you want to get rid of them in the middle, if they're a bit annoying. Now to do this, what I did, there's two ways we can do this. We use the hollow function to make a bowl, which is that button there, shell function. If we click that, we want 2.5 mil thickness, and we click that, that gives us a bowl automatically. That's probably the easy way. We can make a sketch with two curves that are parallel, revolve that. It'll also give us a bowl. But there we go. We put another sketch on the front plane. And click N again to bring that round normal. then we can put some lines in here. Press Q for a construction line. Start again at the middle. We'll make that 125. And we'll draw a circle on here for the first point for a start. We'll call that 25 mil diameter. And draw a line top to bottom. And revolve that half that circle using the revolve axis. See, that's pretty straightforward. We've got a ball there. Now, if we collect that as new, it'll change colour and it sort of denotes that the two aren't actually marked together. We've got a thing there that looks like a asterisk shield, maybe Fireman's hat or whatever else you think it should look like. They're poking right through the bottom. Now, we've got this feature here on the, where is it? Circular pattern and curve pattern here. Thanks, Peter. I'm glad you said that because no one else was going to. Got this thing called a curve pattern. If we click that, we want to pattern that. Turn on the sketch because it's automatically turned off. Just by clicking that little eye. And pass the pattern along the side here. It's on this side actually. You see that dotted line? So that's pretty straightforward. We've got two instances between there and there. Let's go 5 or 6 maybe. It doesn't look terrible. 7 might work. 7 looks all right. Basically, we've got 7 dots. Now, the easy way is to use curve pattern again. And instead of part pattern, we have face pattern, I believe. No. The feature pattern is the one we want. The features to pattern is this one. Probably the easiest way to do this is just take that, and we'll do for the middle one, we'll take that out, we'll remove this one, just with a, with a Boolean action. So we'll just a subtraction. The tool is this one. We want to remove that from the target, which is this one. And that gives us a hole. Now if we do a curve pattern and a feature pattern, we'll feature that one. And we can select the path the feature along, which is that circle. that's not what we want. Selected the wrong one. Features to pattern is that little ball. There we go. We can do it like that, which is sort of how we want to do it. But we haven't quite got that right. So feature pattern is really only that ball with the pattern. That's how we do it. Let's do it like this. Even let's use one we've already, if we edit that, we can do it. We've got holes there already. All we need to do is curve pattern a hole now, or curve pattern and then use the feature pattern. Pattern is that one. The path to pattern along is that one. Forward to do that. We've got an actual connection happening there. What I was thinking to do, have we got an internet problem? Anyway, so that's clear and take a bit of playing around with, but it's there and it's quite a good feature. We've got linear pattern, which will give us a square pattern. I'm looking directly at the bottom of this. If we use the linear pattern feature, I'll click the wrong one there. We want to pattern that one. That'll pattern it directly that way and that way. What it will do, if we want to do this, just for Peter, we can use that and move them as many. So we can go out here as many times as we like, and we can go up here as many times as we like and tile them. Then the other feature on this one is a circular pattern. If we want to do this and pattern this one around there, that'll give us a circular pattern like that. There we go, 6 or however many we need. There's also a function there. If we go back and edit this, edit it, there's a function to skip instances. We click that. And oh, you've lost sound again, have we? We've done that. Well, that's that. There's a whole lot of parts down here that don't really mean anything, and they're very difficult to follow. So these are easy to rename. And it's not a bad idea to go through and actually rename them. You can't rename them if there's more than one clicked. So if you click on that, right click on that, and then there isn't this rename function. Thanks, Peter. If there isn't that rename function, probably two of these highlighted. If there's two parts highlighted, you can't rename them. These can be renamed too. You've sort of got informations here, but it's not. It's a bit random. See, we can rename that too, as you can't change the actual icon on it, but you can say main sketch. And So that's very useful if you're going back and using information again. Make a new part studio here, so we don't get all over the place. An hour goes pretty quick messing around with this. Some of these others that we were sort of thinking that we probably might use. If we do this, a very useful function is this split. We sketch on the front here. We sketch front plane. And the same thing again, if we move that around, we just press N for normal, brings that back level, nice. We draw that. Make a ball, 120 millimeters diameter, revolve it. On the sketch, so we'll just go back and edit that. One line there. Now the easiest way, there's two functions here. There's a midpoint line and a line. Take care. We're not expecting. There's no exam on this, James. There's a line and a midpoint line. It's difficult to follow on a good day. If we use the mid function, we can go here and just select the middle point, and we move a line out like this. See? How cool is that? So that puts a line across the middle. Go right through and revolve it. Revolve axis is full. The revolve axis on there is the face of sketch 1. Like so. We've got a ball. Now, if we use that hollow or that shell function with a 2.5 mil thickness, and we just click on that, right? I believe if we have a look at the section view, which is over here, but it hasn't, see? Because there's no actual hole in it, or no edge that you can actually click on. What it hasn't done is hollowed that. So that doesn't work. So we want to split this in half without taking anything out of the middle. And looking at this, say we want to split this on, say, a 45-degree angle to normal, right? For some reason. If we make another sketch on the front plane, and select that line, and we press Q, and we're still on midpoint line, so we can move that out there like that. It's only construction line. Come along here to the dimension. We can dimension off the plane to there. Let's say 45. That's what we said. Put a 45-degree line in there. What we can do is put a new plane in. So we click that and then click this line. Off the line angle at 0 degrees. And let's put a new plane. We can mess around with this, and we can put this in at 40. That's viewed it both ways. We use the split function, which is very simple. Just click the split parts you want to split, which is that, and into the split widths of plane. Keep both sides. We want to click. Keep tools. Don't want to get rid of the plane just yet, maybe. And we've got two parts split nicely down the middle. We can hide that if we want. In fact, if we just press P, it gets rid of all the planes. And looking at it, we've got a split like a planet. We'll remove one of these just by closing that off. Have a look at that. We've got half. And we can go shell. If we click on the flat side, it makes it hollow. For clarity, we're going to do the same. Hide one and get rid of the other. We're going to click shell. Do the same thing. We've got a ball that's basically sealed up again. And we just do a Boolean union. Click that side and that side. You'll notice it highlights both the bottom and joins them into one part. So there's only one part showing there. And that line disappears. So if we do a section now, we need a section plane. So we're just going to put that top on there. Click that plane. And looking at this, we can slide this in and out and have a look at the section. There we go. So that's how that works. What we've got is a hollow ball. And that's the direct center. Now, we don't have to close that section plane. We can work around it. We say this wants, let's say it wants a 10mm hole through it. So we put another sketch. And we're going to click front for front plane, which is that side. And if we're not sure where we are with that, we can just press N again. And that brings it back. And pull a circle out. That gives us a place to put a dimension. We type in 10mm. And then with this, we can just extrude move it. It turns it red because it's not actually intersecting with anything. So if we click symmetrical, that puts the start point in the center. What did we say? That was 120. Let's go 130 so we know we're going all the way through it. And that automatically puts a hole across the center. Now if we go over here, we can turn the section view off. And we've got a hole. We can actually see through. So I'm not sure what we've got there, but we've got something that's very useful. Let's look at the top of that. If we suppress this, click suppress, that closes that boolean off that joined the two together. So we've got two halves again. Let's say we want a Pokemon ball. So if let's say we want a depression on here, if we want a 1 millimeter groove around here, around this hole, say with a 20 mil center to center spacing. How do we do that? Now remember, this is right on the front. There's two ways we could do it. We could put another plane out here, and that's quite simple. If we create a new plane, and we use offset, and we select the front plane, it'll give us a plane that's offset 25 mil automatically. If we go to 125, which gives us a bit of space, it's way too much. So that must have been the diameter. Let's go 70. There we go. It's very easily to put a pattern. This has got groove plane, groove sketch plane. So that works. And if we want to put a sketch on that one too, so center. What did we say? And what did we say in the spacing? 20 millimeters, I think. Let's call the inside 130. We can pull another one out here. I'll call that 150. And we can project this back. Now, if we just project it back onto the surface, it should automatically change. What that gives us is just a hole or a groove. See that? Got a groove through here. Not particularly useful. And if we go halfway, it's automatically 25 mil. And you can change that in the settings. If you think 25 mil is a nuisance and you're only making something very small, you can set that to 10 mil or 5 mil or 100 mil if you're making something bigger, or 200 mil. And it will automatically offset everything that to start with. If we just do a straight offset there and remove, it gives us a pattern that looks something like that. And by the time we get the outside in so that it actually leaves a groove, this one's going to be cut through and you're going to have two separate pieces. Just as a demonstration, if we do that, it gives us extra parts down here on the parts list because it's cut it through. Now, what we need to do is select here where it's select up to face. And if we do that, we can select this face here, and that'll extrude it straight up to there and give you the same profile. If we click offset of 1 millimeter. That gives us the right groove. That gives us exactly what we want. Like a Star Wars droid, to be honest. Now we could make another, and we'll cross on the other side. There's several ways we could do this. Right? We could start with this and edit the original extrusion, which is this piece, and click new instead. It gives us a new piece. If we did that, then it's very easy to mirror it. Use the mirror function. We can mirror that. Entities to mirror, and then the mirror plane. And then we can click remove, and it removes the one from the other side, see? Or we can add it, or we can click new, and that gives us two to remove. So that's straightforward. If we want to get rid of both of these, then we use a boolean, which is that little one and the subtraction. Tools are these. We want to keep the tools? Yeah, we probably do. And the targets, this one and this one. We'll give it a minute. So we click that. That should give us the outcome. Except it didn't for some reason. That's because we've elected to keep the tools and they're still showing. We turn them off. That's what we got, see? What we don't have is a hole that went all the way through, which is a bit strange. Say we want a bit representation of this. So if we right click on this, we can click add appearance to face. And it pops up a little window with a color chart. We'll make this one that color. And this one that color. And then do the same with this one. Black's a bit difficult to see, to be honest. I don't very rarely use that. Very able to make a part. Let's make a new part studio here. Just so we don't get it mixed up. There's easily to rename at the top. And we'll put a sketch in real quick. And extrude it out. I don't know, that's probably low enough. And if we go to an assembly, what we can do, because that's where everything together, if we insert this one, and if we don't move off this, it puts us directly back on our origin point, the same as it was in the drawing. It's very useful. It's called part 1. If I click this and select fix, then you can't move that around. This isn't going to move. It's got a little fixed icon comes up when you try and move it. If we insert Part Studio 1, and click that, right? We've inserted the spare parts that we didn't really need to keep, but we did for a feature in case we needed them again. You can easily turn them on. Because so you can move all those bits around, that piece and that piece. We need to fix these two together with a fasten mate, perhaps. A mate connector on that surface and a mate connector on this surface. Puts them back together where they need to be. And these are in line, and everything else you can easily turn around quarter of a turn. But if we select a revolute mate, and a mate there, and a mate on the end, that puts those two together like that. Right? And then we can right click this revolute mate, and we can select animate. And there we go. So not very difficult to get a really quite a cool model of something, whatever it is. Anyway, so I don't know if any of that's more useful. Probably isn't, to be honest. I really would wonder about it a little bit. I'm sort of feeling that it might not be a particularly useful model for anything, but we've done some cool things. And a little bit of an understanding how planes work and how Boolean unions work, subtractions and unions and differences. We haven't touched differences, but also basic framework of making up something that is really not a very difficult thing to make up from basic shapes. So that's sort of how it works. With this information, you should be able to sort of make up any shape. We've got a minute. Close that. Stops animating. Okay, another part was Now, Mark had a bit of an idea that we should draw up a flywheel, since there's no drawing. I'm going to put this here because probably I'd put it somewhere else if I was going to do it properly. But looking at it, that's the front of it, and it's the right hand side. What we need is a sketch for a flywheel shape, and that's fairly straightforward. We know roughly in our head what it looks like. We may be wrong, but when we measure it up, we can get it somewhere near. We press Q for construction line, for the center line here. Use the midpoint line again. It's like that. If you just press escape, it won't put actual measurement in. I reckon it's got a 3-inch shaft, just as a guess. So we're going to change this from our workplace units from millimeters to inches. Straightforward. Now, because this is still in the places, this hasn't actually changed any of that. It's just changed the measurements on the drawings or on the sketch of inches. We're working on that sketch. We can select offset and offset this, and it gives us a pop-up panel to put a dimension in. We go 1.5. Right. We use the mirror function. Select the mirror line and that one. Now, what that's done is just put a line in. If we had this box selected for the construction line, it would put this line as a construction line, but it's changed it to just a normal line. Select that back to ordinary line. Now it looks something like this. Now if we lose it, we just click on this box here. Brings us back, or N for normal. Of course, we're on the front one, not the back one. I reckon it's about 24 inches to there, something like that. We put 0.75, and then the rim's probably inch wide. And we could come out here, I reckon it's 5 inches wide on the rim. And it's probably nothing like this. We use that orange line there. We don't even just hover over that one to there. So it lines up and we go to there. Right. Doesn't look anything like that. what's going to happen is that if we dimension this, right, this line here, so instead of being 1.8 inches long, we're going to make that 5 inches long. Right. And that puts a boss sort of the same on the back, something like that. It probably should be a fillet, so if we put a fillet in there, put another one there, and we can make that 2 inches. Of course, it's messed things up a bit. If we do this one at a time, that moves both of them. See, that works. Actually, on the center point of that fillet, when you change the fillet, it changes the actual measurement. Click off this and then click on it again. We can change the dimension. It's telling us we can't put a 2-inch. We can put a 1/2 inch one. Now, it probably doesn't look anything like a flywheel, but we can revolve that around the center, which is a command we use fairly regularly, actually. Revolve that. Around that one. There you go. Doesn't look very much like a flywheel, but we'll put the measurements in later because there is a few changes. Another thing that's probably on this roughly, a bit like that. Put the measurements in later. It's 2 handholds that look something like that. Right? Now, there's several ways we can do this, like we've already talked about. We can just mirror it across, which is all right. If we're not sure whether there's 2 handholds or 3 handholds, what we can do is use a circular pattern, right? And rather than pick all that out, we're just going to do that. Right? We can change that from 1, 2 to 3 to 5 to whatever we need then. We'll just go 2 and extrude those, but we use a removal. We can change the distance that goes through, which is we've just gone for the same as the flywheel, which is probably right. Or we can click here, we can go through all. Right. Didn't work. We'll click the symmetrical button, it will. There we go. So like that is a flywheel, but it doesn't look on something like. So that's what a roller flywheel looks like. There's 3 holes in the front and the keyway. We click the front. We can, that's the back. Let's move this around and click front. We can put a sketch on here on the front plane. We can use this center point rectangle, and that'll automatically lock on this. And I reckon it's 5/8. We just put 5/8 by 5/8. And extrude that. Click remove. We don't know how wide further. I'll click symmetrical so that it takes it out both sides of the center. Click that. We've got a key. Easy. See, it hasn't quite gone all the way through. If we change this from some guessed up measurement to through, then that'll go all the way through again. What we've done is click that face as well. That's the key. This has a top hat section cap on it. Right? Very simple job. Another sketch. Because the sketch plane's sort of right in the center, we could draw this right on the sketch plane, which is in the center. That sort of works. Or we could just put a sketch. We could just put sketch straight on here. Four handholds, righto. Well, that's easy. Let's change sketch 2, which is the handholds. We need to rename that so we can remember. Sketch. Have a look at it. It's 2 functions. We can just change that to 4. Click that again. Job's done. See? That's straightforward. All better. Now we'll put a sketch on here. We'll use this. And I think there's 3 bolts in this cover, though I might be wrong, but same deal. We'll just click that and view for construction line. We're only guessing that it's about 4 inches diameter, 4 inches radius, that curve. And we're guessing it's a 3/8 bolt. It's not a very big bolt, holds that on at all. Same deal. We use this. We put 3 grooves in there. Extrude it. If we add them, it'll just give us 3 pips that stick out as part of it. But it won't, because we've got this gap here that's a few millimeters that it sticks out. We click remove, it'll put 4 holes in there. We can change the distance they're in. 3 holes, there we go. Then go right through. I don't think they do. We can go up here and we can select thread creator. Um, 24 TPI, there's no easy way to do that. Yeah, probably because it's not right. We can do that. 2824. I think we can select 3. Maybe completely wrong. Might be too much. Yeah, it's probably too much for it. Right, go thread. So it's a very simple thing to come back and to add your own dimensions. If you get the sketch, rename that to profile. Edit that. We can just press N for normal. Brings that round like that. We can change all these dimensions. So 6 inches wide. Easily be 6 inches wide. It's probably not directly flat across here. It might have a bit of a dish in it or something. I don't know. Probably this rim round is only 3/4 of an inch. And we need to check our overall diameter. So we'll measure this from this here to this here. .27. Now that's a bit confusing because it's a radius dimension. Now there's a little trick. There's a last trick before we go. If we delete that, and we click dimension, and we click that line. Then we click the center line, which has got to be a construction line there. And that gives us a diameter dimension, which is a very useful thing on a job like this. So we know that it's 54 inch diameter. I don't believe it is. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's probably only. If we delete this, because we don't need that dimension, I don't think. I think it actually does anything. And this should automatically adjust. I reckon it's more like 36. Ah, not enough constraints. Nowhere near. So that might mess you up. But what's happening is that we've got a constraint up here that we shouldn't have. If we hold this over here, we can see the little constraints pop up. One of them's causing a problem. Click Show Sketch Diagnostic Errors. And the Profile Inspector. Got some loose ends. It's only that one. Look at the Constraint Manager, which pops up all those. But one of these constraints doesn't work properly like it should. So you've got to go. That's a lesson for another day. But anyway, that's how that works. We've got a flywheel that we can change. Basically, we can go through and change the sketch and whatever else we need to do to actually get it to work, or to get it the right size and the right dimensions. Not a particularly complicated thing. I've got a flywheel and Mark's got a flywheel, so it's very unlikely either of us will ever need a flywheel. But there we go. Right click this and edit the appearance. Mark's flywheels probably should be about that color. All right, maybe not. It's probably a bit too yellow. He's probably a big fan of polished rims. So we can do the same in that appearance of the face while we're at it. And it's starting to look like a steam engine part. We might next week have a look at a spoke flywheel if we're interested in that, which is a very interesting job, especially with the views to making a casting pattern from it. There's a lot of very interesting things about that need to be considered and things that need to be sorted out. It's a job I've done, but it's a little bit challenging. Anyway, the flywheel pattern there, it's probably a very simple thing to change all the dimensions and set everything up so it all matches, and it's actually a working drawing. So if we right click on this here, right click on the part, actually, we can create a drawing, and this will tell us pretty much exactly. Say we want a A3 drawing of it with 4 views. Let's call it A2 ISO, 4 views. And click that. We've got a drawing library with, got, you don't want much, Peter, you don't want much. Now this is a whole new screen that we haven't looked at, is the drawing screen. This is what we can do there, and we're not going to do much tonight, but this is automatically we can move the scale up a bit, I reckon. If I click this bit, basically it's inserted 1/16. It's small, maybe. Very easy to delete that. Press the button when we've got that. We click insert, and I reckon it wants to be bigger than that. And we go 1/8 on an A2 sheet. Click insert up here, and drop this down the flywheel part 1. We haven't renamed it yet. Give it a minute. The 4 sides in, so the 4, not a particularly complicated thing to make a proper drawing that you can print out if that's the way you like to work. Very simple with this program, just to log in and have a look at it in your mobile phone and look at the close-ups or whatever you need to do. Anyway, it's telling us we've got a poor connection again, so we might call that a night. But we've had a bit of a look and we've done some cool stuff, I think. Hopefully that's somewhat helpful. It gives you a little bit more complex in parts. So those are cool things. Yeah, we'll put some dimensions on it. If you put some dimensions, I'm heading off next week, but or this weekend, so more about that tomorrow night. But anyway, that job's done. We've maybe got a little bit more comfortable with the software. I'd like to think that it is. Sometimes it doesn't quite behave how it should, but you've just got to think, did I do wrong? What's stopping that? And there are tools, they're good tools to actually diagnose that. So we probably should have a look at that. I get to that point, I just close everything up because I think it's not something we're really going to go into in this stream. But at some point we should. Anyway, I think I'm out. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. 5 of you held on for that long. Don't know if you actually learned anything, but really appreciate the company. And yeah, road trip this weekend, big one. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. But all good. Be kind to each other. And I'll put the link to this particular Smart Studio in the actual description on this video. So if you want to come back and have a look, I've done that all along. And basically you can either get into your own file and have a bit of play with what we've done, or you can just drag and drop whatever, make it work without logging in even, and have a bit of a look at it. So you've got a little bit of comfort, like a level of some sort of comfort with how all the controls work. But anyway, that's cool. I'm out, and we'll catch you soon, guys.